Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Brian's Logic, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
How are you?
Wow,
I'm good.
That was quick. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning, The Hammer.
Morning.
Morning, Brian. Good to have you
The
all.
Hammer. Who's
Yes,
the Hammer?
That's the guest that said hello to me in a very bizarre way. Hello,
Careful,
Nathan.
Mo, you're going to break the hammer.
Hopefully we'll get some housekeeping participation from Discord today, as they've been reasonably lively in the pre-show. That means they won't say a damn word, doesn't it? We'll see.
Yeah, you remember that brilliant idea I had? We'd call it Discord Monday, and it lasted all but one Monday.
No, that was the Discord Monday. The. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
Big
Come on,
negative.
Discord. Oh, good.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Hello, Arwin.
Wait a minute. I thought that guy in Discord was going to say something.
Said negative.
Oh, he said
Axial
negative.
rotation.
Okay.
Well, some people still think that the horizon is Earth curve, though. You realize that. Majority of the world think the horizon is Earth curve. You know that, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the horizon
Actually, I
is
lied.
Earth curve, but you can't see it because it's refracted.
And it's not Earth curve. What was
Here's
it you were saying
one that
from
actually
Discord?
may be a potential first housekeeping question, Nathan, if you don't mind. Why they claim that the star, that 61 degree drop per degree.
You're breaking up. Well, there's already a correction to come, so even though he's broken up before he's made his point, they don't claim that. They can't claim that because they can't get a degree measurement every 69 miles, because that would require an angle acquisition that only can be done with a flat plane. So they might say it, but that really isn't their claim, because that claim takes place at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth that you twist in lieu of the protractor that you'd be holding if you were actually measuring it, in the only way an angle can be measured, off a flat baseline. So that's not their claim. But I didn't hear the rest of your actual claim, so I'm just going to address what I did here, which wasn't much.
I apologize. I cut out there, didn't I?
Yeah, I heard they claim 1 degree every 69 miles. Well, actually, no, but feel free to carry on.
Yeah, they claim that as you move along the surface, that 1 degree drop for Polaris, but they say it doesn't happen when you move up vertically in elevation, right? That's how they equate it to the surface, supposedly.
I don't know what they say about moving up in elevation. It doesn't change the angle to the star, but I don't know what they claim in that regard, to be perfectly honest. Anybody else on the panel know what they actually claim in regards to your height of eye actual adjustment in heliocentrism? And I realise there's a bait and switch going on, but what do they actually claim? That bit I've never pegged down. Height of eye. Anybody? Is there a height of eye in heliocentrism, or is it just their bait and switch with dip?
Oh no, it's bait and switch with dip. They just equivocate between the original and current dip correction definitions.
Gotcha.
They don't have any clear. They don't say anything clear. They just equivocate between the two of them and then claim that they have an angle. It's a load of rubbish.
It is a load of rubbish because if they're doing it, it's a depression angle, right?
Yeah, their claim on this is real funny, actually. They say that the actual measurements coming from the center, which is the equatorial plane, and the distance between the center to the surface is roughly 4,000 miles, 3959, counting the observer's height as well. And that in comparison to how far the celestial sphere is, infinity, where the stars are attached on this imaginary celestial sphere, that the difference in that 4,000 is to be considered irrelevant, because if those distances, you could treat those two as the same or as one.
I see. Even if you're a mile high, so rather than 39.59, you go 39.60 because you're a mile high. Well, there's a negligible difference between those two. But when they make that assertion, as I already stated to the guy in Discord who asked, you're already presupposing that this twisting of a protractor is you at the centre of the sphere, which you never are. What you're actually doing is measuring an angle off a flat surface. That's the only way it can be measured. But when they say, no, there's a negligible difference between the twisting of you at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, right in the middle of the molten iron core, and a difference of plus 1 mile on top of the difference from the radius to the outside edge, plus 1 mile, is negligible. It's like, well, why is it from the centre? Well, because that's the only way that protractor claim, where you're twisting around a protractor, you're not. You're holding a sextant and moving along a flat surface to get angles at 1 degree every 69 miles. 1 degree of angle change against a flat baseline. Not 1 degree of you at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth twisting the spherical Earth 1 degree. But that's what they say.
Yeah, bingo.
Well, what they actually do is when they use a tangent plane, right, which is just, they're just basically using sea level, right? They get an angle, then they pre-assume that that angle is then being brought down to the center of their globe to another horizontal plane through the center, right, from whatever is horizontal straight down from whatever the angle is taken mathematically. This is all orthographic now, right? They then take the star, right, in their orthographic diagram and move it down to where the other angle is at the center of their globe. They literally move the star. And the reason they do that is because all their maths are orthographic. So they have to move the star down. Whereas in reality, I can get the same exact angle from sea level as I can from 6 miles up to the same exact star at the same exact time. But they can't show that orthographically, because that's only something that we can observe and see happening in reality. How it happens, I don't know. But even in their orthographic diagrams, they must move the star down to where the angle would, because otherwise the angle from their center is going to be different.
So in conclusion,
because it's an orthographic diagram.
In conclusion, they don't have a height of eye. They've got a bait and switch with dip, and that's about it.
Yeah, there is no height of eye. They don't bring. See, they equivocate between not having a height of eye and then also claiming tangent planes, because the fact that claiming a tangent plane would mean that they have to correct. That means that the sea level is their tangent plane, and they would have to correct the height of eye from the observer in the boat down to sea level. But they don't do that. They talk about a correction from a geometric horizon to the actual horizon, and they equivocate between that, which is an orthographic mathematical correction. They equivocate between that, right, and then stating that the dip correction is taking the angle that's going from the person's eye to the horizon at a depression angle, bringing that up to horizontal with the eye line. That is not how it's done with a marine sextant. With a marine sextant, that depression angle, right, from the eye line to the horizon is brought down to sea level. The eye is brought down to sea level because you're getting into the horizontal. You're making your eye line horizontal with the horizon. That's what you're doing. But they're equivocating between a mathematical dip from a geometric horizon up to an actual horizon, right? Then they're trying to claim that what they actually did was bring it from the actual horizon up the eye line, completely ignoring the fact that the horizon that they're using is not the geometric horizon. It's really convoluted and pathetic is what it is. But that's what they're at. Ruhif, who's listening right now, that's what he's been doing. And I've been around telling people that's what he's doing.
Perfect. We've got some great diagrams that 10th Man, and one of which has been made by me. I'm going to start with the last one you posted, 10th. I don't know if you want to take up the reins from here.
No, go ahead, Nathan. You got a good grasp on it.
It's just a depictorial example of what we're describing. So we're being asked about height of eye, right? So we're going to take this picture. So we're going in reverse order for the guys in Skype following along in Masterby. Your point when you measure the angle is at where it's marked zenith on this last diagram. Now, the angle that you're going to measure is along the reference of this baseline in the vertical aspect that you measure the height of the star in. Now, for every 1 degree that the star moves, if you stay stationary, it's moved its position over the land 69 miles, or if you back away from it, not that this could be done in an instant, you travelled 69 miles, and this, like I say, an instant, so there's been no movement, theoretically speaking, in the stars, then it would drop 1 degree. Yeah? That's the idea. But the measurement that you're taking takes place on this flat plane. I don't know why it says image plane, but that's what it says. Right? Then when I described it being moved to the centre, that's what's being depicted here. So suddenly we've gone from, we're measuring angles on a plane, because it's the only way you can measure them, and then describing that angle that you've measured on a plane as being actually in the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. So I'm just going to go to my diagram second. So this is what I'm talking about. You're suddenly not on the surface that you've measured, you're at the centre of the protractor, and the outside edge of that protractor is essentially the globe Earth that they've presupposed, and the measurement's been moved to the centre of it. And in this instance, it's not stars, it's suns, but it makes no difference in terms of what you're depicting, in terms of the angle that you would see off the flat plane, with a protractor around you measuring the angle that it moves along the sky from your relative position. Well, that's not you at the centre of a protractor, and the outside edge of the protractor, or sextant that you're holding to measure these angles, being the outside edge of a sphere that you're actually stood on. That is not how it works. But that is exactly what's been done. So I'm going to go to 10th Man's second diagram. So now you can see it in a little bit more of a visual... This is a great diagram, by the way. A visual way of representing what I've just described. You standing on a plane, that's this, I hope I'm saying the right colour, green area, and massive protractors over the top of your position to represent where things like the celestial pole is, or the sun is. Well, those are massive protractors over a plane of your position. Well, if you make those protractors into the sphere Earth itself, you end up with this diagram, with you as the observer, very bold type observer. Where are you? Well, you're in the centre of a sphere. You're not, you're in the centre of a protractor that they've reified from a flat surface, which gives them the angles, into the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. And its values are dictated by where these stars are positioned in angular relationships off the plane they were measured. That's been back-engineered into the sphere that we now think we live in, or on. I say in because that's how you're measuring these angles, but on when they tell you that you're actually on the outside edge of the protractor, as in this second diagram that 10th Man sent. Well, this would put you at the sphere Earth, not marked as a protractor, but marked with little green trees on the top edge of this protractor. That's your globe Earth. That's how it's been done. These are excellent diagrams. Thank you, 10th.
You're welcome.
How are people not understanding that? Like, why aren't they appalled when they see something like this?
Got some more diagrams. Did you want to go through those, 10th?
Yeah, I mean, which one are you going to put up? I mean, they're just there to support and cast to what you've already said.
I'd be more than happy for you to go through it again in your own words.
All right,
starting with the sky on a yellow plane with a star, right?
Which one are you on? From use yours as a reference point, the one you put up. Are you before that, the first two, or after that?
I'm after the hemisphere dingleberry. Next one along. Cartoon guy with horizon marked on a yellow disc with a star in it.
Got it. Okay, yeah, perfect. I'm there now. All right, so basically, to get an elevation angle, this is what you're doing, and there's a star. Now, this one is a cartoon guy there, but basically in the books they say the eye of the observer is at the center of the Earth, even though the observer's on top of a boat on the ocean. All the mathematics, the tables in the almanacs, site reduction tables, all of it is as if you were taking the angle measurement from the center of the Earth. Move on to the next slide. You see the azimuth angle and the altitude angle depicted here. Just as Nathan said, it's a protractor. You're at the center of it, and they've just added a lower hemisphere to make it a ball Earth. And they could easily do that because you never see the lower hemisphere. They can always put it there, but you never see -1 to -90, 0 being the equator line. So that dingleberry doesn't belong. So what belongs is a flat plane, and then an azimuth is your horizontal angle along the flat plane from north in a clockwise motion. So you have the bearing direction of the sun in this case. And then you have your altitude angle, which could only happen if you're on the flat plane. So they're showing it to you right here that everything for it to work must happen off of a flat plane. That's where all the numbers are from. And yet they want to reify that you're living on the arc version of this protractor image, which marks your arc in the sky because that's where your eye works. Because when you see the sun rise, it's not 90 degrees above you. It's not your zenith yet. It's not high noon. It's at the horizon. Now, the sun isn't touching anything, just like clouds aren't touching anything. It's perspective. Okay, next slide. This one really shows it nice because it shows the co-altitude, which is the zenith distance, but that was not acquired from the surface of a ball. That was acquired from that solid and dotted line through the center, the equatorial plane. That's where the angle's coming from. So you can see that the co-altitude, 3,000 miles from what you're sighting at the subpoint, is not coming from a curved surface. It's coming from the center, just like these pictures have shown before. Okay, nice little trick. Next slide. Local sky coordinates. Again, very important to understand the azimuth angle is around from north, and altitude is the angle up from the horizon. Up from the horizon. Get it? Elevation angle up from the horizon. You need a horizon. You need a flat plane. Beam Boy sees the object at about azimuth 200 degrees. Well, if he's starting north, and north is 0 and 360, depending which way you're sighting it, you just go in a clockwise motion, and it's at 200 degrees. Zenith is the point directly overhead. This image here with Beam Boy on a green disc without the arc and without the dingleberry underneath, the second half of the dingleberry, this is what's happening. This is a
Did we lose 10th? Yes, we did. Well, I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But just to follow on from his point, he's exactly correct. The way they're depicting it is off a flat plane with angle measurements, elevation angle in this instance, from this plane to this star. And that requires an angle. You can't do this on a curve. It's impossible. Hence the need to move you from the flat plane. This green disc is now represented on the top. And the angle that we're describing is coming from the centre of this. It's like, well, that doesn't give you angles if you're using the surface as this curved line on the top. But they're not using the curved surface. They're using a plane that's stuck on the top of it. This would be a hemisphere dingleberry. So, I don't know what 10th's last slide is, but we'll have a quick goosey. Oh, it's the same thing. So yeah, you've got this flat plane, and all they've done is stuck the dome or sphere around a flat plane, and then the reference to the angle that you get off the flat plane becomes the spherical surface that you stood upon. No wonder they tell us at nausea that when they're referencing the ground to navigate, that they're not referencing the ground. Because as depicted here, even when they do it claiming they're on the top of the spherical surface, they still draw out a flat plane because it's the only way to do it. They just later claim that that plane is actually at the centre of a sphere. It's like, we're not standing at the centre of a sphere. Welcome back.
sorry, yeah, my internet cut off.
Hey guys, well, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey,
Good to have you,
Flatzoid.
Flatzoid.
How's it going? How's it going? I actually made it in time after work. Can you believe it?
Excellent. So you can do a bit of shilling.
You're doing a good enough job for me.
Well, I haven't done it
I still
today,
have to.
so because you're here, you can continue
No.
the shilling I've been doing for the last
Well, I
2
just
days.
No, I just had to come on to thank everybody that is supporting the GoFundMe. I mean, we're already past quarter way, so we're getting there. I mean, without anybody's help, I'm not going to be able to get the PC to be able to get better quality content out there. So I really do appreciate everything everybody's doing. And I'm definitely going to do a special for everybody that has supported the GoFundMe. So, yeah, I just had to come say personally thank you to everybody. And thank you, Nathan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So I like to pay it forward in these regards. And yeah, I echo your sentiments. Thank you very much to everyone who supported the GoFundMe campaign that I set up on Flatzoid's behalf, because he can't do it in his region. And selfish motives, I wanted to hear Flatzoid sounding good. So it's time to get him a new computer, eh? Because that's what's required. So yeah, big shout out to everybody who's actually supported that campaign. It's still running. So yeah, check out the link. If you can chuck him a couple of bucks, that'd be really, really appreciated. And I think I said it on yesterday's show. That's what I'm ideally hoping that happens, Flatzoid. There's a lot of community spirit with everyone chucking in a couple of bucks, as opposed to, you know, a couple of really generous donors that chuck in a lot more. It's just nice to see several, you know, I think there's 11 people so far that have contributed to it. It's just good. It shows community spirit, basically. So I'm keen for people to do it in that way. I'm going to start hustling, or maybe I should encourage you, start hustling the Skype groups and saying, come on, just chuck in a couple of bucks just to show solidarity. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm actually so surprised how much people actually have been giving. I mean, every little cent helps. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And some of them haven't been insignificant. You have a few $20 donors as well, which is always good. So I'm sure we'll get there relatively quickly. But yeah, it's nice. It's a nice thing to do for somebody else. So I enjoy doing GoFundMe campaigns on other people's behalf. I enjoy it, and yeah, hopefully we'll get you to having a new PC, which is the main aim, really. As much as it's fun to do GoFundMe campaigns, it's a lot more fun to actually have the PC running and you doing decent live streams. So yeah, has there been any more? I haven't actually looked this morning. Has there been anybody else contribute?
I just literally got home, so I haven't checked yet. But this morning when I checked, it was I think over £180 already.
Oh really?
So yeah, it did go up a bit. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! So there is I'll have to go and dig out the link and do a proper shout out. So let's see if I can find a link for it, and I'll bring it up on screen and actually do the shout outs right now. Can you chat amongst yourselves for just? Oh no, I found it right when I was about to need help. Excellent. So yeah, it's up to £180. So Wolfie6020's chucked in $10. Oh, thank you, Wolfie. Really appreciate the support. Also, an anonymous donor, which is great. Am I signed in? No, I don't think I am. Hopefully it will keep everyone anonymous that needs to be anonymous. Ryan Q. Vincent, thank you very much indeed. And am I going to butcher this guy's name? Yuho, thank you very much indeed for supporting the GoFundMe campaign, along with Rob and Ted. Really appreciate the support. James as well, thank you very much indeed. Really do appreciate it. So thank you very much everyone who has supported the campaign so far. About a third of the way there. Brilliant stuff. Oh, I couldn't be more pleased. I'm sure you're delighted too.
Yeah, and very surprised at Wolfie. Thanks, dude. You're one of the first anti-flat earthers to give. The others just want to tell me to get a real job, so I do appreciate it.
Excellent stuff. Right, so yeah, so support the GoFundMe campaign. I should really go through those motions actually while I'm here. So if you did want to donate to this campaign, just be sure to set the tip amount to 0, because they do take a fee anyway. But yeah, just pop in whatever you want to donate to the cause. If you want to just chuck in a couple of bucks, that is really still very much appreciated. And as I said earlier, it does show some solidarity amongst us, even if it's us and the people in this pool with us, which is the anti-flat earthers like Wolfie. I mean, we're all in it together, so really do appreciate it from every single source. If you can't, if you're just that broke, which is understandable at the moment, I've got to be honest, I can relate, just share it. So, you know, copy the link or smash it on Facebook and or Twitter, and that helps an enormous amount if you can't necessarily contribute. So if I do pester you on Skype and say, can you chuck in a couple of bucks just to show a bit of solidarity, and you're like, no, I'm too poor. Well, why haven't you shared it then, you misery? So please share the GoFundMe campaign. I think that's enough shilling for your GoFundMe, Flatzoid.
A lot of harmony in the community.
Harmony at the moment. It's been a very relaxed show so far. Had Dr. Bob come on my really old video commenting saying that he was not allowed off mute yesterday. Did anybody notice Bob in the Discord server yesterday? No, Nathan, I didn't notice. Oh, well, neither did I. But based on
That
his
question
comments,
is the Discord.
it seemed to imply that he'd come in and nobody had taken him off mute during the live show. That was what I gleaned from his comment.
That
I
would be
didn't
the
notice you if you
moderator's
did.
fault, right?
Say again, Neil?
That would be the moderator's fault, correct?
I run the show, Neil, so if somebody's come in and I haven't noticed, then yeah, that is my fault entirely. In any event, I didn't notice if he did, but everyone gets taken off mute as soon as we get moved into the after show anyway, so tend not to make any difference because you can just talk as soon as the live show's over. Obviously, in an ideal world, you want everyone off mute, which is what I'm doing now. I'm generally pretty fastidious when it comes to these things.
I don't buy that because we long for them to come in. I'm sure if he was trying to get in, somebody would have seen it.
Speak for yourself.
Are
Well,
we
they love
longing
you, mate.
for them to come?
I'm not.
Remember
I like when they get
yesterday,
spanked.
Kumu virus?
Well, they do like to make excuses not to chat.
That's true.
That's correct.
Yeah, but no, you don't need to make excuses if you don't like a particular bar, do you? There's an ad campaign running by YouTube at the moment that says, look, if you don't like the hate, this is what you do. And then they show you how to block somebody. There's a newer one that came out yesterday that I noticed on the ads, because I watch people's ads when I'm watching their YouTube video. I'm good like that. And the ad said, this is how you get rid of a hater. And it went to their channel and it clicked unsubscribe. And the sentiment was to say, why are you watching this if you don't like it? Just unsubscribe and go on with your day. Now, metaphorically, when I compare this to a bar, doors open, drinks are served, discussions are had. Yeah? That's what happens in this bar. Now, if you don't like the bar, you don't have to come in. And I'm not standing on the door going, come on, 2 for 1, it's party time. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'm sat behind the bar talking to the regulars. And you can come in if you want to. But they go, we don't want to because blah, blah. I couldn't give a crap. The door's there if you want it. If you don't, nobody cares. Now, Neil, on the other hand, is longing for you to come in. Me? Well, not so much.
Yeah, Neil's hungry.
Every so often, a commenter will point out that they've listened to an old show and they'll go, he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Why would it, in this regard, why would I long for it?
Good
I think
old-fashioned
Neil
Nathan
just wants
Oakley
to hear their
spanking is
stupid
good.
arguments.
Say again, whoever that was.
So I think Neil just wants to hear their stupid arguments.
No, I want to hear Nathan smack him around a little bit, Listen, when I was a kid, there was this one particular guy that was so good with his hands, we'd love to watch him fight. I love to watch Nathan fight.
So you long for Nathan then? Okay.
Yeah, basically, it's just sickening, isn't it?
Not everybody else, 10th man, everybody that gets in, chocolate. I love it. At least once a week.
Have I surrounded myself with sycophants? Is that what Neil's basically telling my audience right now? I love how all of the panel immediately jump up and defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to say it, but they wanted to. Stop it. I say it.
You're getting really gay.
Yeah, they used to like the bar when they came in and they were allowed to wear knuckle dusters. Then they liked the bar when they could leave flat earth blood on the floor as they left. They liked it then.
Yeah,
Nathan won't let us talk. He
Is
just
that what it
mutes
is?
us.
I don't ever remember flat earth blood being left on the floor.
All right, go back to some of the early shows.
Maybe the first 10.
No, a lot more than the first 10. You weren't there, man. Honestly, just go back and listen to an early show. Just dedicate an hour rather than listening to an after show one evening. Go back and listen to an old show.
Yeah, I have. It is quite hysterical.
Yeah, I'd say most of the Globers who come in now, they have like kind of found like this. They've made peace with themselves, living in this what is that called? The cognitive, right? I want to hear people who haven't made peace with the cognitive dissonance. Yeah, but most of them here have.
Yeah, we're in a pond with selected other fish around us. So what you want is outside fish. But they're in different ponds, separated from our pond. So all we have in our pond are the people who are in the same exact boat, if metaphoric, I'm mixing metaphors badly here, in the same exact pond as we are. Well,
boats.
So when you're like, oh, I want to hear the fundies come in, it's like they're the only ones that will come in. And in this pond, in this set of weeds over here, they don't like it over here. It used to be all right. Now it's not. Because they don't get to win. They don't get to come and spout fallacy without it being highlighted anymore. And that's all they ever had. So they don't like to come in and have their fallacies ripped to shreds. Neil likes watching their fallacies ripped to shreds. And this other guy in Discord saying, I'd rather see New Blood. It's like, well, unless somebody accidentally stumbles upon this pond, in which case they're one of two camps. Because they're already in the pond. They're either, yeah, I'm totally with you, man, I wish the whole world knew. Or, you're an idiot. Don't you realise that the Earth and atmosphere rotate together, defying the Coriolis? Yeah, that's why you're in this pond, mate, with us. You don't believe it either.
We should have a free-for-all Friday show. Don't get me wrong. I love the educational. When it gets into deep conversations and this education, yes, I love that too. But we should have a free-for-all Friday. Let Rumpus back in so you can smack him around.
Yeah, you should hold an event where you pick one Glober to hold the mute button for that day, for like that hour.
No, you guys are nuts. It's not going to happen because there's no more begging the question. We rip fallacies apart. It could be any subject. It doesn't have to be flat Earth. If someone comes in with a fallacy or a claim, there's nothing wrong with hearing it.
Is Virus talking straight through the top of me, ripping him a new one, not good enough for you? You need Rumpus to talk through the top of me while I'm ripping him a new one instead.
It would just be a good incentive.
Oh, maybe not Rumpus.
First person to the seventh caller gets the mute button. You know.
I mean, gets the mute button.
I don't understand that.
There's no handing off a mute button. You guys in Discord right now, you've been here when Virus was here 2 days ago, right? It gets to the conclusory point. You haven't got an angle to acquire. What you are telling us is using a flat Earth. While that's pointed out, he chanted straight through the top of me, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Right.
So if you hand him the mute button, there'll be no conclusion.
No, that
goes
is
against
the
it.
mute button. Do you think I need to hand him anything for him to realise he's about to get raped and then start chanting straight through the top of it so the audience doesn't get to hear it? Do you think I need to give him something to do that? That's the only trick Rumpus has got. Oh dear, something devastating. Better talk straight through the top of this. Maybe cause a bit of chaos along the way. Maybe encourage somebody in the Discord server to argue with me on a separate point. As far as distance as possible between the devastating point I've interrupted and it getting back on track. That's his only trick. You want that, do you? Because he's not here to argue the toss.
Yeah, well, it's his name for a reason.
It's just it's entertaining to hear you bash him.
Go on,
Nathan, could you go back to one of 10th Man's slides? It's the one where it shows a globe out at the center of a celestial sphere. It's kind of has a lot of blue on it. I just need to point something out there for the audience.
All right, before you do that, I need to make a quick technical report. Nathan, your upvote count is going completely ballistic again. Never seen it this high.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps on going and going and going. It's
What's
crazy.
it up to? Just out of interest.
5,500.
5,500. Wow. Fascinating
About
stuff.
500 per minute.
Somebody's paying for that.
Amazing. Somebody's paying to like spam me.
Or it's just because the show's ace.
No. Yes, it is, but no. Right, I got your diagram up, Brian.
Okay, Nathan, just so everyone can see it. If people will see where it shows co-alt, right? That's co-altitude, right? Zenith distance. So it's showing there 3,000 nm. That's 3,000 nautical miles. The zenith distance, right, comes from the zenith angle. So if you
Hang
have
on,
a 50
Brian.
degree,
He's on the wrong slide, Brian. He's on the wrong slide.
Oh, my bad.
yeah, I'm looking for the one, Nathan, where you have a globe out at the center of a celestial sphere.
6.2K.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's a thing on the, if you see there where it says co-alt, that's co-altitude. And underneath then, there is some other smaller writing that says zenith distance. And that's shown between the observer and the subpoint, right, on that diagram. It says above where it says zenith distance, it says 3,000 nm. That's 3,000 nautical miles. Now, I'm just going to point out, and anyone who's really interested, please pay attention to this. This is the most important thing in this whole argument. The zenith distance comes from the zenith angle. So if the zenith angle is 40 degrees because the elevation angle is 50 degrees, 50 from 90 leaves 40. That means that the zenith distance will be 40 times 60, right? So 4 sixes are 24. So 40 times 60 would be 2,400, right? 2,400. That would be our co-altitude. That would be 2,400 minutes of degree measured horizontally across the sky. That is then brought down, right, as minutes of degree measured horizontally across the sky, as a horizontal distance along the baseline, the sea level horizontal baseline of Earth. Why is that horizontal? Why does that have to be a horizontal distance from the observer to the subpoint or GP point of the celestial body? I'll tell you why that has to be a horizontal distance, because that zenith distance then becomes the radius of a circle of equal altitude. Radius lines have to be straight. So to create a circle of equal altitude, you must have a radius to know what size that circle is. And for that circle then to create that circle of equal altitude, that radius must be doubled to a diameter, which also must be a straight line. That is basic geometric principles. Now, you can't then create all that out of fantasy in your own head and plop that onto a sphere. Because when you do that, right, as long as the circle itself is small enough to fit onto the sphere, the radius and diameter, right, that diameter then becomes a chord line through the sphere. And the sphere then becomes an arc above that chord line. That arc will always be greater in distance along the arc than the distance along the chord line. So all your measurements that you made in reality all go out the window when you put that circle onto a sphere. Because all the coordinates will never match, they'll always be wrong. None of that works. That's why when they show here this zenith distance, like this big, huge distance along this celestial sphere, that then becomes a much smaller distance along the surface of the globe. That's complete and utter, total and utter rubbish. They are claiming a curved radius line at that point. Radius lines are not curved. These are horizontal distances at all times. Does everyone understand that?
Yes, I was about to. I just didn't get to the mute button quick enough. Yes, Brian, I'm following along.
Yeah. So when you see those kind of diagrams, remember that the distance they're giving from the observer to the GP point along the surface of their globe, because it's always along the surface of their globe, the outside surface of their globe, that is supposed to be a radius line. There is no such thing as a curved radius line. It can't exist. You can't create a circle or a sphere from a curved radius line. That is a horizontal distance. The diameter is a horizontal distance. The circle you will be creating will be a horizontal two-dimensional distance. Circumference. So when you see that, remember, any distance that they give along the surface of their sphere is always, between an observer and a GP point, is always in reality a horizontal distance, because radius lines are straight lines. Finished.
Hey, Brian, I just posted a picture in Master B, the black and white from the Navy side, showing exactly what you're talking about. If you could put that up, Nathan, and Brian could comment on it.
You can.
Well, I already
if
did.
I just check just for a second though, if I can shout out Godzilla. Don't know if you heard this joke before, but here it goes. You ready? Phil. Did you like it? Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla37. Which did you want, the last one?
Yeah, the last one, black and white, with the Navy guy.
Okay, it's up.
Yeah, this is what Brian's talking about. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That radius line that you see on that diagram, that everyone can see on that diagram, that straight line between the observer at the outside of the circle that stretches all the way to the inside, right, that then creates a diameter to create the circumference of that circle that they have there. This shows that is a horizontal thing. To create that circle, to find out what size the circle has to be or is going to be, you need a straight radius and a straight diameter, because there's no such thing as any radius or diameter that isn't straight. But if you take that line there between that man, that observer, let's just say, and the center point of that circle, on their globe, that's along the surface of their globe. That means it's a curved line on their globe. That's the bait and switch. If you start arguing with them past that point, then you've completely missed the point. Completely missed the point. Wow. And another thing I want to point out, just 1 second, that radius line, that's the adjacent of this right angle triangle. The angle line that goes up the way, that's the hypotenuse, and the opposite line, which is from the GP, which is the zenith from the GP to the star, that creates a right angle triangle, right? The length of that hypotenuse, right, doesn't determine the length of the adjacent. Not in celestial navigation. Maybe in other geometric circumstances, but not in celestial navigation. The length of the adjacent determines the length of the hypotenuse. And the length of the adjacent is determined by the multiplication of the zenith angle by 60. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you want to go backwards on the slides, can you show the all about angles, and we'll work our way backwards to 3 slides?
You can. I just want to do a couple of quick shout outs. So shout out to Peter Martinez for supporting the GoFundMe campaign, and also Lane Mercer for supporting the GoFundMe campaign. So really do appreciate your support. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, I'll just flick back to your diagram. Thank you very much.
Yeah, to add on to Brian's excellent points, here's all about angles. You've got a right angle, right, 90 degrees. All the books say when you sight a star and you say mark, then you subtract that from 90, so you can see what they have to subtract it from. Do you see any curved lines in that 90 degrees to subtract anything from? Anybody?
No.
Okay, well, that settles that. We know what an acute angle is. It's something up to 90 degrees, but it's less than 90 degrees. So that would be the angle measurement with the sextant. So an acute angle can fit in there. But then the third one is an obtuse angle. Measures more than 90 degrees. So this couldn't work because you got to subtract from 90 degrees. Okay. So if you go to the previous slide, you'll see 90 degrees and a 55-degree angle. You could just assume this is a guy with a sextant. The vertex is the red dot, and he's got a 55-degree angle to the star or sun in this case. Are you on that slide, Nathan?
Yes.
Okay. So here it is, 55 minus from 90, 35, 35 times 60. And what is that going to give us? Well, go back one more slide, and we're going to see it displayed with an error because they have to show a curved baseline, but it can't work. And they discriminate and incriminate themselves by putting 90 there on this slide. So here we've got 90 degrees, height observed, complement angle. So the angle was measured at 60, as you can see. Minus from 90 equals 30. 30 times 60 nautical miles is 1,800 nautical miles. So you see that co-altitude on top? That's a straight line, even though they got it bending. See that bottom line? That's a baseline that's straight, but they got it bending. And you know there's something wrong because they apply 90 to it. We just saw what a 90 was. You don't have a bent line in a 90. So you know they're already tricking you here. So by them putting 90, either that's true or the curve is true, but you can't have both. Well, we know you got a minus from 90, so we know the curve part is untrue. So that co-altitude that Brian was talking about matches the baseline. But at C, it's a two-step process because you don't have the luxury of a plumb bob or a plumb line to get your zenith, which is the red vertical line. Because if you can get your zenith, then it's a one-step process. But at sea, you have to use what's stable and horizontal, and that's the horizon. And so the first sighting is the sun, star, moon, whatever, when you bring it down, barely kissing the horizon, and you use that to get the vertical. The horizon is assumed to be a flat baseline in order to get your vertical. That's the whole usage of the horizon, is so that you could rock your sextant. I remember we had the virus the other day. He didn't even know what that was. When you rock your sextant left to right to create the arc, when it barely kisses the horizon, then you know it's vertical with the horizon, perpendicular. Okay, that's the whole purpose of it. And that gives you, in this case, a 60 degrees. And you're aiming at the star in this case, so your azimuth line is going to be correct as well. And that's got to be done over a horizontal plane. I mean, it's total destruction when they have to put 90, minus from 90, and when you get into how it actually works. And then you saw the previous slides where they say it's coming from the center of the Earth, but everyone thinks they're getting it from the surface that's curved. Impossible. Impossible statements that could ever be put together. Any questions?
That seems cut and dry to me. Beautiful.
Well, it's their books. It's celestial navigation in the heart of it, and they can't deal with it.
Well, one of their magic tricks is the to and from words, right? Because dip angle, they want to wedge in that you're measuring angle to a geometric obstruction that they call the horizon. But all it is it's a angle correction from a flat plane to a flat plane.
Yeah, it's the depression angle called dip angle. It's really height of eye above sea level, and you have to have a true 90. So you have too large of an angle, and it'd be obtuse because you're above the baseline, sea level. So you have to correct for that to get true altitude.
Would you be able to get the depression angle without first having your elevation angle set?
Precisely.
Well, it depends.
Exactly. You can't get an elevation angle from a curved surface. It cannot be done on their Earth that curves.
Well, they can't even get an angle to a curved surface after they claim refracted for 2 years.
Exactly. So if they manage to bait and switch you by saying, oh yeah, I can get an elevation angle to my curve, it's a tangent. No, it isn't. You bent it when you told us that the line of sight to the horizon was bent when refracted at 7/6 of Earth's radius in standard form. That's a bent line, not a tangent. So they don't even have a straight line to a tangent point anymore. But our question's more specific and nuanced. How do you get an elevation angle measurement from a curved line? Because that's where you're measuring. You're standing holding a sextant.
Yeah, not to, from.
That's why I laugh when they bring calculus into it. Calculus has got nothing to do with it at all.
Well, the globe Earth does use calculus. They use the Haversine formula to turn the flat plane they just measured to project that up onto the celestial sphere.
Can you explain that Haversine formula in
you
simple
took
terms?
the words out of my mouth, 10th. Say that again.
Well, the Haversine formula is where they take the flat plane that you're actually measuring, and then they apply it to the sky by bending the line using calculus.
Did you know that, Brian?
Wow, that's new to me.
Brian mentioned it before. It just needs to be dumbed down for people like me.
I do remember it a couple of weeks ago.
But
And me.
the Haversine formula, first when I looked into it, I actually got it wrong on what it was. But, well, not really wrong, but basically what it is a globe correction for a globe problem. So they correct the distance into a curved distance north to south mostly, because it's based on the Great Circle routes mostly, which is north to south, longitudinal routes. So they're just basically correcting from a flat universal transverse Mercator position to north to south globe curved globe distance. That's what they're doing. It's a globe correction for a globe problem.
Ruhif is very good at explaining how he utilized it in his presentation. After he took the flat plane, you got to understand it's a flat plane. That's important. And then he applied it after he got his angles and applied it in the celestial sphere. Then he applied the Haversine formula to turn it into a globe.
So he measured a flat plane. He applied his measurements of a flat plane to a flat Earth celestial sphere model, and then applied this mathematics to convert the flat plane he measured and then plotted on a flat Earth map up to the sky and called the sky the ground because it becomes the surface.
I think they get confused because the thing is you have your flat baseline and you're measuring the arc of the sky, which is all just due to perspective, and they're trying to take that arc and call it the ground.
Yeah, but they're doing it with the Haversine formula. That's specifically how they're doing their magic trick.
So they can bring radius into the equation.
Well, we're definitely going to have to get some more details on it from you and Brian. Excellent stuff. So essentially what you're describing is when we bring up the diagrams, just go and bring them back up again actually. Where's that first one, or second one I think it was. Yes, this one. So when I show the flat plane with 2 protractors on it, 3 protractors if you include one that's not marked with the sun on it, to take you from this position that you're measuring on the flat ground that we're standing on and move that up, it's using the Haversine formula. Did I say that correctly? Haversine formula to do what's on screen and turn the outside edge with markers for degrees into the outside edge of a sphere. Haversine formula is what's required after you measure a flat plane and plot that flat plane measurement into the celestial sphere flat Earth model. And Ruif had to do that for you, did he? Talk you all through the flat Earth and understanding how it's got to be flat and measuring those flat Earth angles and put them in the flat Earth celestial sphere model and then applied that formula. How beautiful, Rufy! I bet that's not painful at all.
Yeah, but John,
I need to go back to my original point back in 2021 concerning this whole argument and what I just spoke about a few minutes ago. That distance that he's claiming along the curve of a spherical surface is the radius of a circle of equal altitude. How do you have a curved radius?
You don't, and they don't draw a chord either. So they don't. It messes everything up if you assume the surface is curved. Further to that, it violates the celestial sphere model. Further to that, you can't even measure an angle if it's curving.
What's an angle again?
Two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Flatzoid.
I thought people learned that in grade 3 already.
You remember, Nathan, when you remember when we started Go on.
Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just going to say good morning and what's up, Flatzoid? Been a while, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to see you, Chocolate.
I'm begging on his behalf, so he feels obliged.
Came in to say thank you.
Always welcome, man. Flatzoid is part of the fam.
Of course he is. He's on the panel.
So you remember when we started dripping sextant in the pre-show a few years ago?
Yes.
You remember the only argument, and still my only argument is you can't. The sextant is an angle measuring device, which they all agree. And an angle is two straight lines meeting at the vertex. And it cannot work with a curved baseline. That's the original. It still destroys everything that they say afterwards. That's all you need to know. It's just that. You don't need to know anything else. You don't need to know LHA, GHA, SHA. You don't need to know any of this. You don't even need to do the process of saying, well, show me a flat earther that does a sextant measurement and then gives us a fix. No. That's ridiculous. There's zillions of wonderful videos that do that. You can watch it in detail. I've subscribed to their channels. They're awesome. They just don't realize it's coming from a flat plane when they do it. It's akin to saying, prove to me that if you stick your hand in the hot grease at McDonald's where they do the fries that it'll burn. Prove to me, do it. You got to do it. No, I already know I'm not going to do it. I already know that's a truth. It's a nonsense thing to say we have to do a fix like they tried to do with John. John killed him right from the beginning. You can't get an angle from a curved surface.
That's why I like Homoto, because it's simply a right triangle to get your distance.
Perfect. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the like button 7,000 times, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either the Premiering Stream. Another massive thank you to all of you who supported the Flatzoid Get a PC GoFundMe. I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!